As a little girl, I had uh, no endorsement at all. Brought up in a family which was a business family. And the benchmarks which my mother had laid were very, very high, which were like you had to be really excellent in academics, you know. And so there are three siblings, including myself. And whereas my brother and my sister sort of outperformed their brief, which was to be excellent academic children. The only problem was that I could not be academic. I could only be creative. My siblings would come in the first three or four in the rank. I would come in the last three or four in the rank. I'm just amazed that I actually graduated. A lot of kids these days are so sensitive about what happens when they're growing up and all of that. And I have to say I hear you because I was there. Not just as a person who would perform in school, but also as a person, as a woman, as a young girl. So there was a lot of fighting to do. From that part to come to where I am right now is obviously a very big journey. It was a big struggle for me. Eventually, I think that when I went to the National Institute of Design, is really when I got exposed to a different world. So first of all, getting into NID was a big thing. I mean, I applied in the local colleges here, JJ School of Art and all that. They didn't accept me and I didn't know what the hell to do. And then somebody told me about NID and I miraculously got in. And I think the rest was history. And I think that was a turning point in my life. I was exposed just to the world of intellectual, creative thought and craft and it was about the entire world. So it just shattered everything that I came from and I had to pretty much reinvent myself in a new institution. When opportunities would come my way, so I had the courage of the innocence, okay? So when I said I have different vantage points, I also have this ability to teach myself. When I was asked to design a magazine, I'd never designed a magazine. Okay, so Taj Hotels asked me to design a magazine, and I did. Those days were analog days, and you didn't really have anything, no access to. There were no computers, and leave alone access to it. So went ahead and actually bought magazines, which I loved, which looked beautiful, international magazines for the most part. And in my room, I tore pages, and all my walls, I stuck what layouts which actually appealed to me. And I actually broke down every element, the kerning, the leading, the para indent, the subheads, the mini subheads, the blurbs, the quotes, the borders, okay, the way the chapters are formed. I mean, nobody taught me. I literally had to do that entire deconstruction of design myself. It's not enough to have big ideas. It's never enough to have big ideas. You have to learn to walk the talk. You've heard of the group Pentagram? I did their first music video. Okay. And I partnered with somebody so that the things that I didn't know, I would learn from them. Television was opening up. And so people were asking me to design sets. There again, I would just go ahead and do it. So, my bosses sometimes would ask me to make tea. I would literally make the tea myself because my boss said, only you know how to make my tea, so please make it. So I said, we'll do it. We used to go for shoots. I used to do the makeup. I used to look for location. I used to carry the model's clothes up the mountain if we had to, and I used to iron the clothes. I did a lot of hard labor. I never once said this is not my job. When I started to do well, I've just been hired by Taj magazine to design the magazines and things like that. I got the first employee on board. And that night, so the office was in South Bombay, in Kalagoda. There's a restaurant called Khyber, which is a famous restaurant in Bombay. And there was a fire. I lost everything. I lost every single thing. I lost my, what shall I say? Not a pencil survived. My work of all those years had all just gone up in smoke. The first employee came to a burnt out office. A friend said that, why don't you, I have a factory which is under strike, so you can go and work there. So I took my one employee and one office boy and I went there. And then the labor union people came and they threatened to beat us up, and we were again chucked out on the street. Then Taj said, "Sorry, you're too far away from for us, you know." So I said, "What can I do? There's a fire. I don't have an office anymore." They said, "No, you come and work with us." So whilst life took away a lot of things, suddenly I'm sitting at the Taj Hotel. They gave me an office. I said, "I don't just work for Taj, I work for other clients." But that's okay. That's what happened. I also managed to work with a very, very good team in an agency called Trikagre, and did some amazing work with my colleagues. So fortunate that I worked with good people. But of course, you know, just as things are sort of moving, uh, you know, I was, although I was in my personal life was again not exactly very smooth. I, you know, had a daughter, but I was a single mom, and so I had to look after my child. My father had to be looked after because he had cancer, and so you know, so I had to basically do a lot of other things, including run my tiny little studio and do work for agencies and things like that. You know, my life has been a single-handed affair. You know, I mean, whether it's my personal life or whether it's been my professional life. So the single-handed affair is where do you get your strength from? Only from within. And where does that come from? You know, I was really impacted by my reading of Bhagavad Gita, because I would remain very attached to what I did, but I would be very detached to the outcome of it. I worked in New York for a little while, and you know, in as much as I learned from the ad agency, I even contributed. I mean, they were struggling with things which I helped solve for. I think I was working on Revlon as an account, and but more than that, I learned from New York as a city. So for me, inspiration is not just my colleagues and not just my industry. For me, inspiration is my environment. And just walking on the streets, learning fashion, learning styling, learning art. Art is so important because that's, to me, pure creativity. I like to be with people who have ideas, or people who can challenge me, who can make me think more. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that vibrancy, you know, and I hope I tried as much as possible to be a part of that, you know, whichever way. I've run my life on many shifts. It's not just the working hours. I have never missed my duties towards my parents, towards my child, towards whatever needs to be done. And I do them well. I don't compromise on anything that I do. This version of VGC, we say VGC 25, you know, I really started, well, 26 years ago. Advertising is not getting me, and I don't think that's the only thing I want to do. I want to create this organization which is really a integrated consultancy. But most importantly, I realized that I must learn the language of business. What are the strategies? What's newsworthy? What is the most happening thing right now? What are the trends? What are the issues? The journey has been extremely rough. We've had some very bad knocks. You have to make sure how to survive through all of this, how to ensure that you keep your team together, how to keep your clients together. There's always going to be somebody or the other outside, something or the other outside, which is going to get to you. To come out of it with a smile on your face, with that resilience, making sure. I mean, even though I might be dying 1,000 deaths, but to my team, I have to be a pillar of strength. You know, what kind of a leader would I be if I would just collapse and you know, disappear? I have been fortunate to have good teams. Learn as many lessons as possible from the kind of hard knocks that people throw at you. You know, take charge, learn more, find your own way to do it at your own pace to do it, but you can do it.